So, just as I did with nutrition, and you can find that video here and linked in the comments below, this is my perspective on exercise. Reiterating again, this is not fully scientifically supported. I make no claims to scientific accuracy in this video. These are my intuitions, my opinions based on amalgamating all the information that I've read, all the science that I've looked at, and my own experience in working out, to come to an opinion on what the most important factors are for health and longevity as regards exercise. It is purely opinion-based. I have read a lot, I've studied a lot, but I can't make hard claims about the scientific accuracy, nor would I do so. This will follow the exact same pattern as the nutrition pyramid. We're going to start at the bottom with the most important factors, the things that you need to focus on the hardest, the things that you need to spend the most time, energy, and effort developing, and really only focus on the next level up once you've achieved at least 80% success at a particular level. You don't need to be perfect at the bottom level before you move up to the next one, but you really should be hitting at least 80% success on that level before you start thinking about the next level up. Reiterating again, one of the problems I keep seeing in exercise and diet in so many areas is that people get caught up on focusing on small details that don't matter and ignoring the bigger factors that really do matter, and not actually spending the time and energy that are needed to pull the levers that are going to really move the needle forward. Part of the reason that happens, as I discussed in the nutrition video, is because you can tell a beautiful, complicated, interesting story about these tiny factors, and those are usually easy to do. You can have a complicated story about something easy that gives you the impression of doing something important, whereas the things that really move the needle are simple but hard. The first level here with exercise is again via negativa, things to remove, things to avoid. First, minimize sitting. That is, just having basic levels of activity. Zone 1, if you want to talk about that, is just getting your heart rate slightly elevated above your resting heart level. You should do that a lot of the time. When you're walking around, a slight increase in your heart rate is normal, usually just a little under 100 beats a minute, maybe a little over, depending on how fit you are. Just having a generally increased level of activity so that you're not sitting all the time. Number 2 is respecting injuries. Part of the challenge of working out is you have to push. Often, you have to push close to your limits, and you don't know where your limits are at first if you haven't done that very much. At some point, you will injure yourself. That is an absolutely necessary and unfortunate part of working out, and when that happens, you have to respect the injury. Allow it to heal, seek medical care if needed, massage, chiropractic, etc. Sometimes you'll be out of the gym for 2 or 3 weeks. You'll fall back. You'll lose progress. That can be very frustrating, but you have to respect the illness and injury. Otherwise, they start compounding. So that's the first level. The next level, very similar to nutrition, is social, relational, and cultural issues. One of the sayings I'm very fond of is, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time around. If you want to exercise, if you want to be fit, if you want to be healthy and improve your cardiovascular performance, improve your strength performance, you have to find a social milieu in which that is not only possible, but encouraged. If the people around you are making fun of you for exercising or knocking you down for exercising or saying, what do you think you're going to accomplish, or why are you doing all that? Even if it's in a joking way, even if it's in supposedly a lighthearted way, even in a teasing way, that makes it that much harder to be healthy. Not only do you have to work out, but then you have to defend working out. The correct and only response of people when you say that you're working out or you're trying to increase your time at the gym is, oh, that's awesome. That's great. Good for you. I'm doing that too. Can we go together? Can we encourage each other? And when you fall back, when you're not having a good day, when you're not having a good week, when you're not having a good month, you're not getting into the gym somebody who's going to say, hey, what's going on? If you're not injured, you need to get your ass back in the gym. Again, those are the things that make an exercise and healthy lifestyle possible for the long term. Just like nutrition, the long term is important. You can't exercise for a day, a week, a month, and have any particular benefit. And that brings us to the next level up, which is consistency and intent. You have to develop your character such that you're able to consistently follow through on your exercise plan. This is not a short-term thing. A beautiful interview I saw with Arnold Schwarzenegger is that they were asking him, you're older now, your bodybuilding days are behind you. Why do you still work out so much? Why do you go to the gym every day? And he said, why do you brush your teeth every day? That's why I work out, because that's what I do. That's who I am. Being the kind of person who works out, identifying yourself as an exerciser, as someone who works out, making that a part of your identity, gives you the option to be consistent and to follow through on your intention. Part of that as well is accountability and tracking. You need to be tracking what you are doing so that you do not start giving less effort over time. If you are running a mile in a certain period, in a certain time frame, you need to know what your mile time is. If you're lifting a certain amount of weight on the bench or squat, you need to know how much weight, how many reps, so that when you go to the gym, you are looking to replicate that or push it forward. You're trying to add weight or add a rep, or at the very, very least, you're trying to match your performance from before. Without tracking, going on the subjective effort of how you feel is subject to too many factors, your emotions, your sleep, your stress levels, and you will inevitably, without tracking, start doing less and less over time. Part of the value of working out is training yourself in doing hard things. Working out is hard. It is really, really hard, and doing it consistently is even harder. Learning to do hard and unforgiving things is a critical life skill that will help so many in so many different areas. It has so many different opportunities to benefit in business, in relationships, and so on and so forth. One of the reasons I love weightlifting, even more than cardio for me personally, is that the weights are simply unforgiving. Either you can lift them or you can't. Either you're able to move the weight or you're not. And that unforgiving aspect prevents you from falling into self-deception. When you are lifting weights, you cannot deceive yourself. Either you did or you didn't. Either you maintained correct form or you did not. It's a very yes or no, on or off kind of question. At least it's that way at first, leaving aside some very nuanced discussions of form for more advanced lifters. Now, the last one at this level is accepting nonlinear progress. That is very difficult. It is a very, very difficult thing to do. The reality is everyone hits plateaus in their exercise program. Everyone meets challenges where they seem to be lifting and lifting and lifting, and they can't add weight, they can't add weight, they can't add weight. Part of it is keeping the faith, learning to push through nonlinear progress, even when the reward of progress is not there, even when you're not losing the weight, even though you've been running every day, even though you're not gaining muscle, even though you've been lifting every day. To keep the faith, examine what you're doing, and not give up. To say, well, maybe I'm not eating enough protein. Maybe I need more rest. Maybe I'm fooling myself. Maybe I'm not really lifting as hard as I could. Maybe I need to add more weight, or maybe I need to shake things up with some sort of periodization program, or maybe I just need to keep showing up. Regardless, the key factor is accepting nonlinear progress and not letting that discourage you when you're not immediately moving forward. Now, the next level is intensity. That is, once you've achieved consistency, once you are going to the gym regularly, 5 days a week, at least 3 days a week, you then need to start thinking about increasing the intensity of your workouts. When you lift, you should lift to near failure. How will you know if you're near failure? The only way to know is to fail a certain number of times. You get the feeling of when your muscle truly cannot do another rep. Again, this goes back to needing the social environment. You need to be able to ask people for spots. You need to be able to ask people to help you so that you don't injure yourself. And again, you need to respect injury potential, but you also need to push intensely toward the failure point and to learn what that feels like. Because in weightlifting, just like in cardio, you will not make progress if you are not pushing close to your failure point. Ideally, with weightlifting, within 1 or 2 reps of failure on each set. Now, you do need a combination of resistance training and cardio. For cardio, at least zone 2 and zone 3, some mix in there. Zone 2 is pretty light work, but you'll be sweating. Your heart rate will be significantly elevated. You'll have to be taking deeper breaths. Zone 3, you will start to feel the burn within 5 to 7 minutes. You'll feel the burn in your muscles, and you will not necessarily be able to continue indefinitely. And again, we're aiming for 3 times a week. So mixing in some combination of a resistance training plan, maintaining or building strength and muscle mass, as well as cardio, building that cardiovascular fitness. So you need a program, you need a plan where you're tracking, you're accountable, you know what your plan is. It's not just going into the gym and doing whatever you feel like that day. It's some set of activities that I need to do this many lifts on these muscles or these workouts. I need to do this kind of running, this kind of cardio, and I'm going to do that consistently every week, and I'm going to push it to a certain level of intensity each time I do it. Now, the next one, of course, is recovery. Recovery is what allows the actual muscle growth, allows the adaptation of your body to the stimulus of the workout. So you can do the workout, but if you don't get the rest, if you don't get the recovery, you won't get the gains. You won't get the actual benefit from the workout. Each workout is a stimulus, and your body responds to that stimulus by adapting. It either builds muscle, or it increases arterial strength, or it increases the heart pumping capability, or it grows new capillaries into the muscles so that you can get blood flow more easily to those muscles, or upregulates enzymes and burning lactic acid, or so on and so forth. But whatever adaptation your body is supposed to make, it can only make that adaptation during recovery. The most important recovery, of course, is sleep. Sleep is absolutely essential. And so all of the things that improve sleep, from limiting blue light exposure, getting bright light during the day, eating timing patterns, not eating too close to bedtime, and of course, exercise helps with sleep in general, but if anxiety keeps you from sleeping, then having a journal to write down some of your thoughts. Keep that at the bedside so you can write it, not using bright blue lights, but using warmer incandescent lights. All of those things that are so easily missed for sleep become very important for improving your exercise performance. And once again, just like I talked about nutrition, these 5 things, minimizing sitting and respecting injuries, keeping a good social and cultural milieu for yourself around exercise, being consistent, being accountable, accepting nonlinear progress, having an appropriate level of intensity, mixing up resistance and cardio into your program, and having a set program that you follow, and then respecting recovery, prioritizing that, making sure it happens, those will get you 90% of the benefits of exercise. If you're just looking to exercise for longevity, you're going to get 90% of the benefits just with those things. Now, if you add in some of the more advanced topics that we're going to move on to, you can get additional benefits, but you really shouldn't focus on the advanced things until you are achieving these basic things with at least 80% success most of the time. So the next level, and again, there's a bit of a gap. The bottom 5 are they're all very important. I've put them in some hierarchy, but they're all really very important. But significantly less important, though still important, is zone 5 intervals. That's HIIT style training, high intensity, getting your heart rate all the way to maximum at least once a week, ideally 4 or 5 times in a session with appropriate rest in between sprints. And then breath work, learning how to breathe, learning how to fully circulate the carbon dioxide out and the oxygen into your lungs can improve performance and can improve the adaptations to exercise. Next, a very similar level of importance is mobility, coordination, and skill. So doing exercises like those recommended by Knees Over Toes guy, I highly recommend those that strengthen your joints, that prevent injuries, so that you're not just building strength in a limited range of motion, but maintaining your mobility and maintaining strength with your mobility. Power training is also very important at this level. It develops neurologic control, it develops athleticism, it develops the ability to trigger muscle contraction rapidly and apply force very rapidly rather than slowly as in traditional weightlifting. Also in this area is plyometrics, training explosiveness and rebound, also training your tendons to maintain extensibility, decreasing stiffness without losing strength. Plyo can be trained not only forwards and backwards, but it can also be trained in lateral planes that allow you to maintain agility. And that can be applied in a variety of different ways, not only in sports, but also in everyday life. Next, variability, type, timing, cycles, undulating periodization, simple periodization, mixing up the different types of cardio you do. Sometimes you run, sometimes you row, sometimes you bike, sometimes you swim. Sometimes you do heavy squats. Sometimes you do single leg Bulgarian split squats. introducing variability, number one, creates interest. It allows you to maintain an exercise program for a long period of time. Otherwise, it does get repetitive and a bit boring. It also challenges your muscles in new ways, in slightly different ways, and your muscles adapt to whatever stimulus you are giving them. So if you're giving them only the same stimulus, they will not adapt further. You need to give them a slightly different stimulus, either in a different direction or a different balance point or a different nerve activation in order to keep making progress. The next one is sport-specific or targeted training. So often there will be things, if you're interested in a particular sport, whether that's rock climbing or jiu-jitsu or tennis or marathoning, you will need to do training that is specific to that sport that will help you move forward in that sport. An extreme example is unusual sports like shot putting, where you need to train muscles and neurologic patterns that help you twist your torso in order to generate the force to throw a shot put. But every sport has some specific training. Targeted training refers to specific areas that you may want to build. Let's say that you just, for aesthetic purposes, maybe you want broader shoulders because you're a guy, or you want bigger glutes, or whatever you want. You can do targeted training where you add on additional stimulus to the area of interest. And again, now we're at level 9 here. If you're able to do all 9 of these things, you are going to be getting 95 to 97% of the possible benefit of exercise for longevity or health purposes. These things are really going to be the vast majority of the benefit for exercise. Anything further that you do, you're talking about tiny percent increases in the value. I would include anything else in this tiny percentage as enhancements. And that includes isometrics, TENS units, electrical stimulation suits, compression suits, blood flow restriction training, sauna, light exposure, and special gear training. Whether that's special shoes or special bands or anything that's marketed as a special gear. Again, many people will tell you a complicated story about how this electric power suit will trigger your muscles, and it's like getting a 1-hour workout in 5 minutes and all these other things. I think, first of all, there is a large amount of that is complete bullshit. Second, even the things that are not bullshit will only add a small amount of benefit on top of an exercise pyramid that is based on all these other factors. If you were already pursuing a culture, minimizing sitting, you're being consistent, you're having high intensity, you've got a mix of strength and cardio, you're getting recovery taken care of, you're getting HIIT training, breathing training, you're doing power and plyometrics, doing mobility with strength, you're also doing variability, you've got a plan that's very clearly programmed out. Maybe you're also adding in some sport-specific training, and then you want to add on some sort of power suit training or blood flow restriction training. Well, maybe you can eke out another percent benefit of growth. And of course, all this assumes that you are eating appropriately to fuel all of this exercise. You can see my opinion on nutrition for some of my thoughts there. But again, these marketing shticks about exercise in the morning or exercise in the evening or lift in the morning, but run in the evening. No, run in the morning and lift in the evening. Or you should do squats at noon, but you should deadlift at 4 p.m. All of that, maybe, there is some tiny, trivial, insignificant benefit. But the reality is that the people who are advertising these things either stand to make some money, they stand to gain influence or fame, or they are just taking advantage of the fact that everyone loves a good, complicated, scientific-sounding story, but nobody wants to focus on the basics, the simple things that we know work, but are just hard to do. So, this is my take on a new exercise pyramid paradigm. Let me know what you think in the comments. Thank you.